Hey everybody, it's the Nitty Professor, and I wanted to share with my English-speaking audience that I finished this lovely sweater in some beautiful Fritteds Garn wool. I can certainly post a link to this type of wool. This is from Norway. I used 4 different colors, and this pattern I'm going to show you. I did find it in this German book. Some of you go to my German podcast, so you'll be infinitely familiar with this book. However, the pattern that I chose is available in Ravelry, and it is named in Finnish for a certain kind of flower, which is that one, Lapinvuokko. I think that's what it's called. So here's the original, the way the book has it modeled with a neutral light cream colored yarn and pink and green and a white on the top. So we see the bottom motif there. To me, it looks a little bit like some kind of Greek design. Let me see if I can find another nice picture for you. But yeah, this pattern is on Ravelry. This one shows the model by a lake, it looks like. And yeah, so let me try to give you a bit of a better look at this here. This is, maybe get it back. I actually did black it. I washed it. My washing machine has a hand wash setting. I kind of like how the yoke turned out. You can definitely see the flowers. The blue is a little, it could be a green, right? But basically, I'm gonna show you the yarn. 1 second. So this is the yarn that I used, and I had this navy. That's the name of the yarn on there. That's kind of pretty too. Makes me want to go on a lake. And this pink. And I can tell you the colors if you want. Let's see here. Pink one, look at that, glorious pink. These colors are numbered, so this one, for example, says 4419, and then I'm assuming it has the dye lot on there. The blue color has number 5575. It's a beautiful navy, just a perfect traditional navy. Then we have this striped color, which I use for the body. Again, same brand. It's from Sandnes. There you go, Sandnes Garn. This color is 9367. It's beautiful self-striping. Be interesting to make a hat or a scarf out of this. And this yarn, same brand. I inherited all this yarn, and it was a bit tragic because the woman who had it died of COVID a few years back, and her daughter-in-law was looking for a home, knew that I did knitting, and I said, of course, I'll take that. So I followed the pattern pretty closely. Give you a look at the motif here on the sleeve. It came out pretty nice contrast. The contrast, obviously, on the bottom here it's a little less self-evident, but can kind of tell, there's something going on there. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a meadow or what. And the self-striping action is kind of obvious. And then for the top, instead of the white, so again, I inherited all this yarn, and basically I just wanted to use what I had. And I literally was counting like the number of different colors of skeins of yarn that would be needed for any given pattern, so that I could find one that I could use this particular yarn with. So I do like how fluffy. It's very woolen. It's definitely a rustic wool. And I almost found that, given the gauge, that it came out a bit like big, but that's fine. I think actually the original is, it's like a bit on the longer side, and it will keep me warm, and you can see how far that goes down. And sometimes I really like having a sweater like that because it kind of warms, like below the waist. We have a lot of wind in South Dakota, so that ended up being like kind of smart to have it end up being just a little bit roomy. So lately I've been contemplating what I want to make next. I did a German episode on, in fact, YouTube decided all of a sudden it was going to dub my videos. So the title came out in English, and not even necessarily good English. So it was a German video a few days ago about the mourning your finished project, because it was my friend there for several months. So obviously I have a lot of ongoing smaller projects. I do have another sweater I'm working on. I've showed you that, and I'll show you that again soon. But I did go on a little bit ago talking about this sweater and thinking this might be a good option to do next. And now I'm kind of leaning heavily towards that, partly because it uses techniques that I haven't tried yet. So this is called the Riverside Pullover, and the designer is Courtney Kelly. I just love it. I think it looks gorgeous. And there is, like, you can probably make out there's some cabling going on, and I am a bit of a, let's just call it newbie. So I have made a cabled scarf. It was actually reversible. But the idea of doing a sweater that is predominantly cabled, here I'll show you, here's a better picture of the body here. It's kind of challenging. I think it's time for me to learn something new, because I do make the grand majority of my pullovers the same way. Bottom up, and I attach the sleeves and do a yoke. So this one, I forget if it's bottom up or not. But in any case, it does incorporate techniques that I haven't used. Let's see here. Riverside Pullover. It's worked in around from the top down. I need to try this. And everybody says you get better results in terms of the sizing because you can try stuff on as you're working on it. So I'll look forward to finding that out. Who knows? I may never make a pullover bottom up again. We'll see. But in any case, this is what I'm thinking about. And I'll show you the yarn that I have. I have a whole little bucket of yarn. This is from Kelburn. I'm thinking about using this purple for the body. This is the Germantown yarn. This is kind of a good workhorse yarn from the United States. Made in the USA. Woohoo! And I don't know. All it says is North American wool. So we don't know, is it Romney, is it Corriedale? We don't know what it is. But it's North American wool. It's a worsted weight. And it is the prescribed yarn for the sweater. So I'll do a swatch and see what I come out with gauge-wise. And then I have these other three colors. I have this. Let me give you the name here. I think, is this called Amethyst? No, this is called Pansy. Pansy. This green will go into the yoke, and it's called Jade. So this Jade, I think it'll go really nicely together. And a third contrast color is this Gray Heather. Gray Heather. And I forgot if I showed this to y'all in German or English, but in any case, I'm showing it to you again because it's really nice. And then we have, let me see what this is called, Salmon. So yeah, so I've got a whole bucket of yarn here. Probably more than I need. I'll probably be able to make a hat and a scarf too. That is often the case. One time I had a sweater I was making and I ran out of yarn, so ever since then I made way too much yarn. But in any case, I thought today I would address a topic that I have seen kind of floating around. In fact, I think one of my German subscribers might have sent me an article about it, and then my former German professor sent me an article about it, and it might have been the same article, but it was about knitting as a kind of yoga. So I thought we'd go to our friend ChatGPT and just look into this, So my prompt was, it's a little bit biased, right? But I'll tell you what I put. Please list 10 ways in which knitting is like yoga and equally beneficial for your health. So we'll see if we learn anything new here. And I like how, of course, I did this AI class and it said you have to be polite. And I'm like, okay. So it's polite back. It says, absolutely, knitting and yoga may seem worlds apart. One involves stretching your body, the other, your yarn. I like it's going to stretch my yarn. But they share some surprisingly similar health benefits. And so if ChatGPT leaves something out, or if you think something's bogus, like it's hallucinating, please let me know. So here's what it came up with. Here are 10 ways knitting is like yoga and equally beneficial. Number 1, mindfulness and meditation. You know how there's that whole set of needles, are they from Knit Picks or what? The mindful collection and stuff, and it really plays off of this idea that knitting is yoga. And I'm here to say I agree with that, because I have friends who are like, oh, you should try yoga, and I'm like, no, number 1, I'm not that flexible. Because I had both my hips replaced, and I can't even sit on the floor. I can barely sit up. I can kneel, right? But sitting on the floor and trying to get back up, no thanks. I'm just going to stick with knitting. So I kind of want to feel justified that, yes, knitting is my yoga. So mindfulness and meditation says the repetitive motions of stitches create a meditative rhythm. And, yeah, I mean, especially like when I'm working on the body of a sweater, that's probably when I feel the rhythm the most. That's the most fun I have. When I do my bottom up and I get here and I'm like, gosh darn it, I need to start another body. Then I'm like, nope, don't want to be on Sleeve Island. Oh no, so I'm pushing my way through the sleeves on my current sweater. And then when I get up to the yoke and I'm back to this, big old long circles, I'm happy again. So it's a challenge. And it says that the similarities with yoga are focused breath and movement promote mindfulness. So we're promoting mindfulness with repetitive motion, meditative rhythm. Number 2, stress reduction. And I certainly agree with that. In fact, today at the School for the Blind, there's this one young man who likes to engage in conversation. So there are a lot of questions that kind of come up over and over again. And one of them is, how are you doing? And another one is, what are you doing? And I have to be honest, I'm like, dude, I'm knitting again. And I kind of shared with him today, I can't sit here with my hands just not doing anything, idle, right? Idle hands are the devil's workshop. So, because I'm observing. That's my job, is to observe. And I'm trying to take stuff in and not off. So I'm knitting. And it does lower my stress as well. So it's like it keeps me focused. I can kind of just pay attention. Studies show that knitting lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. I like it when it gets reduced to this chemical formula. Last time we learned that if you start a new project, it releases dopamine. Now we're lowering cortisol. This is making me really happy. What do you think, Benny? Hey, Benny. Are you lowering your cortisol? He had a little run-ins with some burrs a week or so ago, so he got a partial fur cut. He's going to get the real deal pretty soon at the dog barber. So in any case, lowers cortisol. Yoga does that through deep breathing and physical movement to reduce the stress response, a healthy escape from anxiety and overthinking. We don't want to overthink. Number 3. Improved focus. See, I just said that. Improved focus. Knitting, counting stitches and following patterns enhances concentration. Yeah, okay. Counting stitches, fine. Sometimes I just like to just be mindless. Like my favorite part of this sweater, guess what? It was this part. Right here. I didn't have to count diddly. But, I was kind of focused. So in any case, let's see what else. Improve focus. Yoga maintains poses and breath control that trains the attention. Pain management. Ooh. See if you agree with this. Knitting can distract the brain from chronic pain through cognitive focus. I think that's true. I'm my most hypochondriac when I'm bored. It's just the worst thing for me is to be bored. Lately, with spring kind of actually here now, in the rare moment when I have like a little time, I'm like, I'm just going to go outside and putter. Puttering is my favorite thing. I'm just like doing stuff that is just like, oh, I better do this. Oh, I better do that, And then I don't think about any kind of health issue or, hip pain, whatever it is, right? And then it says yoga improves physical alignment and circulation, reducing pain. Physical alignment. That's why I wear heritage boots. We'll be doing a video about that tomorrow. Okay, both act as holistic tools for managing discomfort. So yeah, distraction from pain. We're about halfway here. Number 5, enhanced fine motor skills. Knitting strengthens hand-eye coordination and dexterity. And I think that's kind of self-evident, right? It says yoga improves body awareness and motor control, but I don't know if it's fine motor, right? Like, how is yoga fine motor? So knitting, definitely, that's fine motor skills. Both keep the nervous system agile and engaged. So here we are on number 6, which I think number 6 kind of ties in with a couple of the previous ones. Mood boosting. Knitting, the satisfaction of progress and creativity, releases, guess what? Dopamine. And yoga, physical movement, breathwork trigger endorphins. Both support mental health and emotional balance. We need emotional balance, especially in these trying times. So yeah, progress, creativity, okay, yeah. I mean, I actually finished something, so yeah, I'm like, whoa, progress, that's genuine progress. Sense of community, knit groups and circles provide social connection. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with the Prairie Fiber Arts Guild. So that is a good example of that, building community, and yoga has classes, right? Fostering belonging and shared energy. I hope you're in a knitting group. If you're in a knitting group, it'd be cool to know that, that's going on for you. And I know there are some people who actually try to organize things online. Like for Tour de Fleece, last year I was in a group with Stitches and Starlight and everybody, and it was through this Discord thing, but I still felt that it built community. In fact, I connected with some people who found me on Instagram. I found them on Instagram, and every time I see a post from them, I'm like, yeah, we're connected, because we actually did that Tour de Fleece thing like last summer with Stitches and Starlight. So you can have a community and social connection in person, but you can also have it online, which is kind of cool. Both nourish the human need for connection. There we go. Here we go. Number 8, improved sleep. Knitting, a calming activity before bed, can promote better sleep. So here's a question. When do you knit? Obviously, I knit during meetings. I've confessed this several times. There's a whole video about that. But my go-to time for knitting is definitely the evening, and it is definitely before bed. Yeah, usually I give it 2-3 hours if I can. Then it says for yoga, gentle stretches, breath, relax the nervous system. But yeah, I'm much more interested in promoting better sleep. Doesn't always work. I'm getting a little older, a little hypochondriac. That's why I dream up books. It takes my mind off the sometimes traumatizing book that's unfolding in front of my very eyes. I'm like, I'm just going to think about the book I'm writing, because I have complete control there. But that helps me sleep too. But yeah, knitting and sleeping, I like that a lot. Oh, now here's one I wouldn't have thought about. See if you agree with this. Number 9, boosts confidence. Knitting, completing projects builds pride and self-trust. Like this. I finished. Yay! I got it done. It did make me feel kind of proud, and especially when I used this yarn gift from someone that, had a tragic death, and I could honor the yarn that I received from that person and make something. And I'll have to tell the daughter-in-law who gave it to me and let her know that, yes, I made another sweater with your mother-in-law's yarn. Says that yoga, achieving new poses, builds physical and mental confidence. Those are the things I'm afraid of. Some new pose that I would break my hip. No. But finishing a project, absolutely. Both nurture self-esteem and resilience. Here we go. And number 10, here we go. Accessible for all ages. Interesting. Accessible for all ages. Knitting can be adapted for various skill levels and abilities. Of course, I'm writing a whole set of novels about a blind person who knits, so that certainly makes sense. And then it says yoga is modifiable for different bodies and needs. Modifiable for me. I don't know. But, if I took up yoga, would it take away from my time for knitting? So, I don't know. And here's ChatGPT being just really nice, Want this in a printable or shareable graphic? I can make one for you. So I'm not going to take ChatGPT up on that offer, but I do think that ChatGPT has been helpful here in just sort of laying out how it is that knitting and yoga kind of both achieve very similar ends, maybe not exactly the same, but certainly comparable. So it makes me feel better. If I could have put a different prompt in there, right? I could have said, what am I missing out on by choosing knitting over yoga? But I'm not going to do that, because I just want good news, and I want to know definitively, based on AI, this kind AI friend, that by choosing knitting over yoga, I am doing well. So I hope that you feel boosted in the same way. You may be the type of person who does both. I think there are plenty of you out there. I even see on the Woolly Thistle podcast, they got a yoga instructor on there. And every time they get to that point, I'm like, no, I'm going to go to the French lady and watch her knit. So in any case, that's just me. But love to hear you share about your experiences with knitting and yoga. Appreciate your tuning in. I hope you're going to have a wonderful weekend. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.